Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Nomad Experts podcast by Commute. Today, we're going to talk about something that comes up all the time, but we haven't discussed it yet. We've kind of done it in a roundabout way, but we haven't had a full podcast on the reasons that we choose our next digital nomad locations. So oftentimes we find ourselves in places, and I don't really put a whole lot of thought into how the hell I even arrived there. I'm just there, and then people ask me. And they ask me all the time, how did you choose to end up where you are now? And I have to think about it. I'm like, well, I don't know. It's usually one of, me and Marissa put together a list of 10 different reasons. We had to rack our brains on how we arrive in the places that we arrive. But we kind of narrowed it down to 10 reasons that we end up in the places that we end up. And some of it's kind of random, and some of it takes a little bit of thought. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we do that, Marissa, you are almost on your way to Mexico, right?
Almost on my way. I am. I'm headed there next week. I'm super excited. Back to my beloved Playa del Carmen for a Nomad friend's wedding, actually, which will be super fun. There's a big little crew of us there. Second one, I actually have another one this weekend in New York from a friend, a Nomad friend who I met in Thailand 5 years ago and have stayed in touch with. Yeah, it's actually a fun story. So this will be there's like three Nomad friends weddings, all within like 3-4 weeks of each other. Yeah. So there we go.
You know what's great about
wedding
weddings?
Season is back.
Getting invited to them, but not being in the wedding. I love that part.
Love it. Just get to show up, have fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, these will be a fun ones. Yeah, exactly. So they'll be good. So back to Mexico soon, and you are in Mexico. How is? I think last episode you had just arrived there. You were quite jet lagged. I feel like you're back to Jeff, back to life. The color in your face has come back. How are you feeling? How is Mexico City treating you?
Yeah, Marissa's not used to seeing me at these early morning calls are usually my bread and butter. Like 7 o'clock, I'm ripping and roaring, but we got on a call last week and I was just dead, zombie-faced, pale. I was like, what the hell? I think there's something wrong with me. You guys are like, yeah, you're jet lagged, idiot. It's like, oh yeah, I guess that could be. So, I'm back.
No, it's been 2 days with a 10-hour time change. I was people say it takes an hour. No, 1 day for every hour of the time change that you do to really feel adjusted. Like you kind of think you are, but so I guess you're probably now right at that time and back to normal, Jeff.
Something we've never talked about before, and I completely forgot about, is like the altitude changes when you go to different places.
Ooh,
it doesn't come up that often, so it's not worthy.
It's pretty rare,
but every now and then there's some. But yeah, like when we went to Bolivia, that's like.
Bolivia was the biggest one for me.
4,000 meters. And I didn't even think about it when I got here because I went from sea level to here. And it's actually, Mexico City is like 7,500 feet. So it's just...
I always forget that too.
I do too, because it doesn't even occur to you because, it feels like you're walking around and there's like, it's lush green, feels kind of tropical. It doesn't seem like it's mountainous at all because you're in the middle of a big city. But then I got here and immediately the next day I went for a run. I'm like, what the hell? Like I run all the time. I'm like, fairly fit, and I was just like dead after a mile. And then I was like, oh shit, that's right. I'm at altitude. So it's kind of like another
confusing
factor that throws off your
in Bolivia, we used to do those group workouts with Diego, and we would all do like 10 jumping jacks and be like hands on knees, winded. I've never felt anything quite like that before. That was insane. But
just walking up that little hill. You remember that?
Yeah,
walking up that little ravine, just dead.
Walking upstairs just to like go to my bedroom. I'm like winded at the end of it. But it kind of made me feel like, oh yeah, I'm like doing things. Because normally it takes a lot to like feel that way. So anyway, I felt.
I lost 10 pounds.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
In Bolivia.
Yeah. Lost 10 pounds.
Good food there. Yeah. Well, let's jump into it, Jeff. I'm excited for this episode. I don't know why we haven't recorded this one yet, but it is, as you said, like this is probably the number one question, weirdly, that I get, because I think as you and I have been traveling for so many years, we don't really think about how we choose a place, where we go, we just sort of roll with it and end up in places. But when we really think about it, there are a handful of reasons why we end up where we do. And this is the most common question I get, just like when random strangers usually meet me or I'm talking to someone new about digital nomad life and they're like, you can go anywhere, anywhere in the world at any time for however long you want. They're like, how do you choose where to go, right? So it's like when the world is truly your oyster, how on earth, literally, how on earth do you choose? So
where on earth do you choose?
How and where on earth do you choose this? So there's 10, and I'm actually going to add a bonus number 11, Jeff. I thought of something else as you're actually giving that intro. I am. You don't even know what it is. So it's changing into 11. I think you'll know it once I say it, and we'll agree. But let's start. You want to kick off number 1?
Number 1 is like group travel. So in the context of like, I started my whole thing with Wi-Fi Tribe. So literally looking at the chapter list for those of you not aware, Wi-Fi Tribe is a company that sets up month-long chapters throughout the world on a month-by-month basis. So you can look on their website and it'll show like usually between 2 to 5, maybe sometimes 6 different locations around the world that you can choose from. And that kind of makes the decision process a lot easier. You don't have the paradox of choice. You can just look at this list and be like,
a couple choices.
Yeah, you got a couple choices and you go, oh, that looks awesome. Like I've never gone to XYZ country. And it's just like, it makes it super simple. It's clear in your mind. I got 4 weeks there. I could book a flight there. And I know that there's going to be a community there. So it's kind of like, it's like digital nomad with training wheels. Well, maybe that's not very nice to say it that way, but it kind of.
But it was.
Kind of is,
I liked it for that reason. Yeah, that was definitely the way when I first started my nomad life many years ago, and I didn't know a single person living this. I really planned my travel around Wi-Fi Tribe chapters that I was excited to go on. So it was a mix of like, I knew when I wanted to start, I was like, oh, this country looks cool, that chapter looks cool, this one, and I would sort of use those almost as anchor points of my travel calendar and my year.
Same.
I think you and I both do less of that now, and we'll talk about how we do and why we've evolved. But when you're first starting out, and especially if you don't have a community, these are really great ways to do it and can give you, it was definitely an anchor point of like, this is how I choose, this is how I ended up here. This is how I ended up here was mostly because of Wi-Fi Tribe chapters for me. And then on top of that, there's a couple other ones. There's ones like Nomad Cruise, which we actually have an affiliate link that will give you a discount. We can include that in the link. I think it's like 100 euros off of that if it's something interested, but that's like a whole group of Nomad Base. There's Hacker Paradise. There's all sorts. I think we did a whole podcast episode.
Right? In
Nomad Fest.
Is that Bansko?
Like Bansko.
Yeah. Did you go to that, or were you at the wrong time of the year?
I did.
Oh, you did go to that.
Actually, no, I always say I did. I actually went there like, I had a conflict during it, but I went, I think like 2 weeks after it and was there afterwards. So I feel like I did, but I was there with a lot of people. But yeah, so some of these group travel experiences are ways to sort of like anchor your travel schedule. And that was really, especially when we first started, that was a big way I know that Jeff and I both chose. So I think that covers number 1. Anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, it's a great starting point. It's a good number 1. So it was literally my starting point. So
number 2, this was a big one for me also when I first started. And that's, so once you have that anchor point, let's say you go on a Wi-Fi Tribe chapter, for example, and you're there with like 20 really awesome people, the number 2 way I would choose countries or choose next destinations was simply to keep moving with the crew that I met there, or even one person. So as an example, the very first time I started my nomad life, I really wanted to go explore all of Southeast Asia. It was just, I had never been to Asia. I wanted to go. Didn't know anyone, didn't really want to do the solo travel thing, but I was like, I just kind of knew I wanted to go explore that area. And so I did a Wi-Fi Tribe chapter in Bali, in Indonesia, and then in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And then I met a friend on that, she's actually the one getting married next weekend, who I'm still friends with. So I met a person on that Thailand chapter who also wanted to keep exploring. So we just kind of kept geographically moving to the next place. We went to places like Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, we just kind of kept moving around. So it's, I guess number 2 for me was I get to a place based on something, meet someone, and just kind of keep geographically moving to the next countries nearby that I want to go with those people.
I think that's like the full expression of freedom as a digital nomad is number 2. I love the beauty in that, because you occasionally run into a travel group that you just really, really sync well with, and you just kind of don't want to stop. It happened to me the first time my first chapter I went on. A couple of us were like, oh, let's go explore other parts of Colombia, and just kind of stayed after chapter, and just there's a core group of 4 of us. We're just like, get along really well, we travel really well together, and just it's kind of fun to go around and do that. We did that during pandemic. Our little Mexpedition crew, we ended up going from I think like 6 different cities in Mexico over about 5 or 6 months or so.
I've never heard you say Mexpedition.
That was our group name.
Awesome.
That was our WhatsApp name, Mexpedition. I still
Beautiful.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really, really common. It's kind of fun because it's a little bit sporadic. It's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? You're just not really
surprising.
Planned. Yeah, it's kind of like an unplanned thing. It's like something you'll say, hey, let's go to this city or this country next. And you're like, oh, man, you get the butterflies. You're like, all right. This is great. New adventure. New adventure every couple weeks. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And, it's like with your little family. So that's
exactly.
It's a great one.
And I would say that's also, as we've talked so many times on this podcast, I feel like it's like our number one Nomad rule, aside from like, don't forget your computer and your laptop charger, which I have forgotten that, is never book a two-way. Yeah, exactly. Always book a one-way flight.
You'll never take it.
I would say this number 2 is really the reason why we do that, is because you'll meet all these people going around. And I actually had a friend who just started nomading. She did a little bit this summer, and she was like, I'm leaving on this date, and I know I'm going to come home on this date. And I was like, no, you won't. She was like, I'm booking the round trip flight. I was like, don't do it. She did it. She changed it. Met a guy, went to Ireland, did the thing. It's like, you never know what will happen and where you'll want to be. And it's like you want to leave that freedom just to keep moving with the crew is number 2. So what's number 3, Jeff? I think this is actually the primary way you and I almost exclusively travel now.
Yeah, so that's just, we are kind of on the same page here. You've got planners, and then you've got people that say yes to things. And I'm in the say yes to, like, that's kind of something some of my friends always joke about. It's like, if you need somebody to say yes to a plan, I'm the guy. Like, usually somebody says, and I like that part, because I hate planning, and I love it when somebody comes to me and says, hey, we've all got thoughts on going to Buenos Aires or something, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. That means you've already done the effort of coordinating a whole bunch of people. You've picked a country. You're probably picking a location within that country and like looking at Airbnbs. It's lazy planning. It's really lazy planning. Or
is it smart planning, Jeff? It's like, we let the type A people plan all the things, choose the things, and we say yes. I love this style.
It is good. They come in with such high energy too. Like, I want to do this and this and this, and these locations are great. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is fantastic.
Sounds great.
It feels like these type of, and I don't know, we have to speak for these people because we don't have any on this call. I'm just assuming they get energy off of doing this type of planning. Yeah, but it works great for me. And I'd say, like, I don't know where you stand, but I think it's probably 70 to 90% of my decision making is based on this factor.
I would say mine's also, I was going to say like the 80 to 90%. Yeah. And I call this category like the say yes to friends. So with this one, I know if you're not yet nomading or you're hearing us, you might be like, who are you saying yes to? Like, who are all these people asking you, right? So that's why we started with number 1 and 2, right? Is like, find the travel communities, start to meet those people, start to travel around with them. And then you'll have this say yes. So as Jeff said, like, we have a community mostly through, we call it like the 6 degrees of Wi-Fi tribe instead of Kevin Bacon.
Wi-Fi tribe adjacent.
Wi-Fi tribe adjacent. So most of our travel friends at this point are either people we have directly met on Wi-Fi tribe chapters, or they are friends of friends within Wi-Fi tribe. That happens to be our kind of travel group. Sometimes I have like Nomad Cruise friends. And then also I've met people out in the wild who are not part of travel groups. They're rarer, but we call them like, I know, who are these people? But those are our Wi-Fi tribe adjacent, we call them. Like the friends that we make along the way and sort of bring into our crew. But it may sound like, I don't know, I feel like if I'd heard someone say this back before I started, I would be like, how do you you must be special. You have all these friends. Like, I don't know anyone yet. But once you get out there, you really make all these friends. And I swear to you, I think I said this in our email earlier this week, but I've had literally in the past 2 weeks, people be like, come to South Africa, starting in January, come to Buenos Aires in November, December, January. I don't know why, everyone's going to be there in January as well. Or like, come to Greece, come to Portugal, people will just sort of say like, I'm going here, you want to come? And that's why Jeff and I are the say yes people, because there's the people who love to plan and make a choice and say, I'm going here, this place looks cool, I want to be there. And for Jeff and I, we're just like, sure, that sounds cool, like, let's go. And I would say really that's almost exclusively how I end up where I end up, like, these days. It wasn't my first couple of years, but like now I would say years kind of like 4 through 5, 6, 7, 8 years of this, like that's what I'm doing.
I'd say those planners, you'll spot them right away. Like, once you start traveling, Once you start getting in your first, like say you take a chapter with Wi-Fi Tribe or something, you're going to spot these people right away because they're going to be planning out weekends.
Yeah,
it's like
they plan. They love to plan.
Maybe
and I love them for it.
Yeah, 1 or 2 for every 20. So it's like 10% of people just tend to lean in that direction. And it's great. You just go, okay. Then you just pick and choose. All of a sudden, stuff pops up, and then you just kind of roll with it. And that's the way I like to travel.
Say yes. Well, real quick before we move to number 4, Jeff, if you are listening and you have gotten value either from this episode or any other episodes you've listened to in the past, if you could open up your phone that you're on right now, whatever platform you're on, and click either the stars, the subscribe, give a little comment.
Musical chairs, they keep changing it.
Musical chairs, they keep changing, whatever that is, but it really, really helps. Like, the podcast keeps growing every week, really and truly, and it's because of you, our awesome listeners who are leaving reviews and subscribes and stars and, and all the things so other people can keep finding it too. So thank you so much for that. We love you guys. We love our listeners. And with that, Jeff, what is number 4?
Number 4 would be the complete opposite of number 3. The rarity for the both of us would be making proactive choices and doing our own planning. Which is...
can you remember the last time you did that, Jeff?
God, at least a year.
Your face.
At least a year.
Really? Where was it? Do you know where it was to?
I think it was going down to Colombia, which is half not even a proactive choice because my girlfriend lives there. So it's just like...
I
it's just a normal... So no, actually, it was probably a year and a half ago going down to Colombia before I met her. It was just in my brain. I was like, I just want to go. I just want to go to Colombia, and I'll figure it out afterwards. Like it was completely absent who's going to be there. Nobody else was planning anything. It was just in my brain. I want to go there. So it's the scariest ticket to book because there's no plan. And I do the same thing you do. Just sit there hovering over the purchase ticket button. It's especially true when you don't have a crew there and there's not like a solid plan that people your type A's are putting together for you. There's no outline, there's no coloring book. You're just kind of winging it on your own.
Scary,
it's like
scary word.
Commitment to this plan that you don't have, nobody's gonna be there. But so again, bringing it back to like number 4 is proactive choices, and that's just kind of choosing on your own. Here's a spot I want to go to. I'm gonna book it, and then I may or may not invite friends to that. I usually try to invite friends or at least check in with the local community and see what's going on, see if anyone's going to be there. Yeah, so since it's so rare, was the last time that you did that?
I know, I was thinking that as well. I would say, solely that, I would say it was probably 2021, and I got a whole crew to come to Coast. I know, to come to Coast. I was thinking, because other ones, they almost felt like I chose it, and I'll talk a little bit about... so there were some other ones that were more of like, I did choose, but I was already with people. It was more like going somewhere nearby or a flight, I'll talk about some other reasons. But I would say truly the last time that I chose a destination just that I wanted to go to and be in and got 20 other people to come with me was Costa Rica back in 2021. And it just takes so much energy of I'm saying I'm gonna be here this date. Are you gonna come? Are you gonna come? Are you gonna I like the Type A planners. I call myself a recovering Type A. I think through high school and college, I was the Type A planner in life, and I have since removed myself from that. So it takes a lot of energy to be, and it feels like a lot of pressure to be this is the plan. You're gonna have fun, and I'm like, what if they don't want to be there? What if they don't like this? What if they don't like that? So I like to kind of come in without the pressure and just sort of exist and be there now, or at least just go with a smaller crew or people. But I would say so. That was almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. That was the last time I really just set a flag and said, this is the destination we're going to.
You get great reviews when you set that up, by the way. People have talked to me about it, and they're like, oh, that's a great place Marissa's got there. It's such a good time.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was
Everybody
so
loves
fun,
it.
but it's
it's not worth it.
maybe it's a once in 3 or 4 years sort of thing for me.
It's a type of personality. It's people that get energized by doing event planning. There's a reason why there's event planners and wedding planners in the world. They get off on that.
Totally. And it's funny. Yeah, I have some friends who do that, and I almost forget sometimes that I'm capable because I just say yes now, but I'm actually really good at it. I just don't I'd rather someone else do it if they are willing to. So so that's, but if maybe you're listening and you are that planner and you're I want to choose, I want to go. So that is a way Thank
for
you.
existing.
We love our Type A planners. I like have lots of them on top of my head, but yeah, it is a way. If you just like have a place or thing you want to do, want to go to, you might set the phrase or the place and go from there. So that's number 4, a rare occasion for Jeff and I these days. But if you're the Type A planner, that might be your 90%. Who knows? So what's number 5, Jeff?
We're going to take a quick pause right there to tell you about our remote travel jobs daily. Are you currently looking for a job that's going to allow you to become a digital nomad and work and travel around the world? We've got exactly what you're looking for. Every week, as part of our free plan, we handpick 2 jobs that are perfect for becoming a digital nomad that will allow you to work and travel around the world while you're doing it. That's 2 jobs per week for free. We also have a premium plan in which we send out 2 handpicked jobs that are also perfect for becoming a digital nomad every single day, Monday through Friday. So that's 40 handpicked jobs by us that are ideal for becoming a digital nomad. So make sure you take a look at these 2 plans. It is beachcommute.com/travel jobs. That's beachcommute.com/travel jobs. All the details will be there. Number 5 is getting back to anchors around your travel are specific events that can dictate where you want to go. So a good example was there's a big music festival that we all wanted to go to that was in Romania just this last summer. And it just kind of made sense. Okay, so there's this big festival that we want to go to. We know the time, we know the place, makes sense. So after that, you just book. Yeah. And then from there, you start to like go through your other bullet points that we're going through now. So right. It's again kind of similar to like a Wi-Fi Tribe chapter. It's just an easy decision-making process. You've got location, you've got an event here. Okay, everybody congregate, book your flights, and there's kind of less stress around the decision-making, less anxiety around booking the ticket, and you kind of just go for it. Similar to like I know you do a lot of those Nomad event types of thing. That's kind of a similar thing too, right?
Yeah, I would say there's like a variety of events that might just get me somewhere. So example, Nomad Base. It's the founder of Nomad Cruise as well. So it's like it kind of gets me where like that. They did one in Cape Town, they did one in Playa. Like so, it's like I'll just kind of go to that location, and I love it because those kind of things, you meet like 200 other nomads, right away. So it's also a good way to build that network and a good reason people are going to be there. So I might go for that. Or for example, I went to Playa. I was going to say last year. It was only this year in January for a month-long like dance kind of training that I was really into and wanted to do. So that took me there. Or it might be like a specific conference you want to go to or a retreat, some sort of meetup. I think that the Nomad event you talked about in Bansko in Bulgaria, Nomad Fest, like those types of things. It's sort of just like a reason to get you somewhere. And then we didn't quite say this as a category. We talked about, keep moving with the crew, but I'll sort of use those as an anchor point and then move to countries nearby. So when I keep saying I went to Nomad Fest, I was there a couple weeks late, but I was there with the people who went to Nomad Fest in Bulgaria, and then that's where I sort of did my Euro trip through. I went to, where else did we go to? To Czech Republic, to Romania, to
bouncing around,
to Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia. I just kind of kept moving from there. So again, I kind of used those as a way to say like, oh, okay, there's this event happening at this time. I'll get there, I'll go there, and then sort of maybe go to a country nearby and then a country nearby to that, just because I at the time liked to keep exploring new places. I think like an event can really get you to a place, and I love that you said it's so cool. Like, would you ever have thought, like, if you could rewind 10 years ago, Jeff, and you heard yourself say, like I chose to go to Romania for the month because there was a cool concert there. Like, can you even believe the words that came out of your mouth? Like, I know it sounds so, just love it. It sounds wild, but it really, I think that's the cool thing. It's like those, when you're not a nomad, it takes, if you only have 2 weeks of vacation here, maybe 3 if you're lucky, in the US, maybe if you're Europe, you've already got more, but it's hard to say like, oh, there's this cool band I want to see, or this cool, people love to go to like Tomorrow World, or, like big events or concerts or festivals. And you can just be like, cool, like I can take 5 days off and go to that festival. And then I don't have to use my travel days afterwards. I can just kind of keep exploring, or live in that country, or go to the country next to it, or whatever you want to do. So it's wild, I think, if you're listening to this and haven't lived it yet, but it's our normal life now, and it's still baffling to me.
It's a good point, like taking a step back and saying, oh yeah, there was like a specific band I wanted to see, and it's called the Electric Castle Festival. If I look back at myself 5 years, 6, maybe more than that now, but like 5+ years ago, and said Jeff Baker is going to fly to deep in Romania to see a specific band at the Electric Castle Festival while working. Like that? What? That's fucking wild. Yeah,
wild.
But it doesn't, like, looking at it now, I'm just like, yeah, of course I would do that.
Okay, number 6, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have ever actually planned a trip this way. I'm curious if you have,
really?
But this came up. Yeah, so, number 6 is you find a cool accommodation and then you plan your travel around it. So I would say almost exclusively, I choose a country, or say yes to a country more accurately, or wherever I end up, and then I know I'm going to be there, and then I try to find, all right, like where's an Airbnb or hotel, or some sort of rental that I can stay at in that place. But this one came up because of the email I sent out a couple days ago. One of our friends, Kelly, had an Instagram story that she posted, and she just said, like, I found this cool place in Nicaragua in February, and it was like this awesome Airbnb, great price, like looking out off a cliff, at the ocean with a pool and grass, and it just looked amazing. And so the way and I know she just, like, if you're someone who loves to kind of browse all the cool places on Airbnb, she just like explores the world and says, like, what's a great, cool Airbnb at a, an affordable price at a place and time seems like I'd want to be there. And she literally will book her month or choose a country around an Airbnb that she finds. So I was like, I've maybe said yes to people who have done that. Have you ever booked it in that way? I think it's amazing. Maybe I should do this more often.
Exactly that way. I mean, when traveling with the group, we would occasionally have like a few different places in mind. Say we've got like 3 different places in mind. And a lot of times it's based on like we need to get out of Schengen. So we'll look at a couple like non-Schengen countries and then just pull up the Airbnbs in the main city centers. And then if we find a really cool one, it helps the decision-making process. But
that's fair.
I do know these people that love Airbnb. Yeah. And they'll just spend a lot of time finding awesome accommodations. And sometimes that's like, what number were we? Was that like number 3 or number 2 or number 3? Somebody will be that proactive planner, and they'll be like, they may have made their decision based on finding a badass Airbnb. And then I'll look at that and go, oh shit, that is badass. Okay, I'm in. Okay,
yeah.
I'm just going to say yes to it no matter what.
I think we say yes to those people, but I've never done it. And I'm kind of like you. I've made a lot of weekend trip decisions based on cool accommodation. So if I'm in Sri Lanka and our friend, we actually said, had stayed in this cool like treehouse thing. So we're like, oh cool, we'll go there for a weekend. It's like, you already found it? You did the cool research? Like, we'll say yes. And we stayed in this little like treehouse Airbnb in the mountains in Sri Lanka. So for weekend trips, I'll be like, where do I want to go? Oh, we have a group of 11 people. Like, here's a place that fits us. Like I've kind of made decisions Airbnbs that way, but I've never looked on Airbnb to be like, 5 months from now in this country I've never thought about, there's this sweet, thing. I'm going to go there and get people to come with me. So I think it's a really cool way. And Airbnb, actually, I was browsing something the other day because I needed accommodation for something. And it started feeding me just like really cool, like all the like A-frame or like in like remote sort of places, or it was like places in Hawaii. Like I feel like they have this little feed now, which is really great for me, but it just started pushing like places normally it just shows you places you're already looking or just where you currently are, but it showed you just cool Airbnbs like in the world. So maybe I'll start doing that. It's pretty cool.
I generally only do that like on the weekend, like on a super micro level. Like I do that.
Yes.
Same thing. You just jogged my memory. Those A-frame types of places that are like kind of out a little bit from the city center, that are like, it almost feels like a little bit of a retreat. Like we found a place that was basically a tree house, one of those A-frames that looked over the city, and the top level had like a bunk, but it also had like one of those Skynet types of things. It was just like and you can just kind of lay in it and look over the city. In those instances, for weekends, I can get a little bit of a splash of type A because it's like, this is, I can't help it. This place looks badass. Like, I kind of want to build a trip around this kind of thing. So, Airbnb can kind of fun, but that's about the extent that I go to.
A splash of it. It did just jog my memory. I didn't choose the country, but I chose a date. This is probably the only time I've done this. I was in South Africa. I was in Cape Town, and I knew I wanted to get over to Bali, and I found this really cool Airbnb, and it was only available on these, like, specific dates, so I actually booked my flight. I booked that Airbnb and booked my flight based around that date. But I was going to that country anyway, so it had a little bit, but it was one of my favorite places I've actually ever stayed. So
was that where you got the infamous ankle injury? The hole in the foot?
That was in Thailand. That was right after. Okay. I left Bali. Shouldn't have left Bali. 3 weeks later, and then fell on my scooter. And
I was on the right timeline.
Yes, it was right after that. So that's number 6. Jeff, what's number 7? I feel like this is actually, maybe this is your like 10 to 20% if you're not just saying yes is for number 7.
Yeah, this one's near and dear to me. As you guys know, I get physically angry at the world when it's cold out, so I will choose places based on weather. So if I'm in somewhere cold and my fingers start getting cold, that's the sign. It's so weird. I know it sounds odd. If my fingers and my toes start getting cold, I start getting this itchy feeling oh god, I got to get the fuck out of here as soon as possible. So I'll just start looking up warmer locations, and a lot of times during like a North American, or like sometimes I've been in Europe or Eastern Europe, start getting those feels where it's like, all right, it's no longer fall. It's starting to get a little crappy.
I have to wear a jacket. I need a scarf.
I don't want jacket. Sweater weather's okay. Sweater weather is fine, but jacket weather, I'm like, all right, it's time. And at that point, generally, I'll choose like somewhere around Central America, South America, because I'm going to get like a little bit warmer type of climate. Last year I did South Africa, which is great. That's a really nice way to escape winter. Also, like I've done Costa Rica before. You did Costa Rica. That's an awesome place to escape winter too. It's like cheating.
Favorite.
Like you never have to experience winter, and that's kind of what I strive for. So yeah, that's probably I put that in my 10 to 20% or so. But
so
you spend most of your time on the beach anyways, so it doesn't really...
I do. I know, it's always funny to me every time you say how much you hate the cold and you can't stand it and you travel because of it. For some reason, I think because I know you don't love like tropical, sandy, hot, humid beaches. Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, oh, Jeff likes the cold. He doesn't mind it. Because I exclusively I just love, as a lifestyle, I love the tropical, humid, temperature beaches. Like, it is important to my joy in life. It's like, it's what I love. So for me, I'm willing every now and then to get like a little taste of fall. But yeah, like you said, once it starts getting to winter, I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. So that's when I start booking things as well. So yeah, 7 is weather.
We're like really young snowbirds, basically.
Exactly. Just found out a little bit earlier.
Not
so
really young for me, I guess, anymore. I can't say really young anymore. I don't think I fit that category anymore.
We're young. You're young at heart, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I love it. All right. What's number? You want me to do number 8? This was one of yours as well, but I think it is a good one. So number 8 is cost. I feel like this might be like maybe 2 to 5% of your travel, I would say. I'm assigning your travel choices for you as like a pie chart.
Sure.
But number 8 is cost. So this might be, maybe if I have been in a more expensive kind of nomad location, we might choose the next place on, this is actually a much, more affordable country, or has lower cost of living for accommodations or food or things like that. So it is nice to sort of switch back and forth between the two if you want to go mostly in, bigger cities in Europe, for example, and you want to kind of spend that that, then we like to sort of balance it out and be like, you know what, I'm going to head over to Asia for a couple months and everything feels like it's half the price, and it becomes quite a sticker shock when you come back to the US after those. But yeah, talk to me about times you've chosen for cost.
Yeah, a good one would be going down to South Africa, is because it's a little bit of a mixed bag, because the cost of living in South Africa is fairly inexpensive. Going out to eat's not bad. Groceries are very, very cheap, but the accommodations, mostly because of like digital nomads artificially pumping up the costs of accommodations of really, really high. Like it was, everything I was looking at was between like 80 to $120 for single bedroom places, and that's jumped
per night. You're talking
per night. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty expensive, and the flight down there is really expensive too, because generally like if you could fly from the States, sure, or you can fly like North America. A lot of people flying in from Europe. I think most of the people that I know are flying in from Europe, and that right there is like $900,000, something like that. So it can eat into your savings pretty quick. So in that instance, it's like, all right, I kind of want to go and recoup a little bit, and there's places you can go to do that. For me, it's like generally Latin America will be a little bit more of a cost saving type of thing. Like accommodations are generally a bit cheaper, cost of living's a little bit cheaper, but also you can add a little color to, you can go to Asia, you can go to Southeast Asia and recoup your costs quite a bit there too.
So it's kind of almost like thinking about it as a balance, or just based on your bank account at the time, the savings, or what you want to be spending. Sometimes we choose geographical areas or countries just to say, all right, like we'll base it on that. Number 9, actually I think this is becoming bigger and bigger for both me and you. This is on our growth curve of adding to percentages. What's number 9, Jeff?
Number 9 is familiarity. So what does that mean? It means like, say you've been doing some unfamiliar travel, going to new countries, and you're not really sure what to expect. You're kind of winging it as you go, and you're trying to figure out like where do I go to my gym, or we've talked about this before, like settling down in a new Nomad location can be a bit jarring. It takes a lot of mental energy to like get your bearings, to figure out where you're going to go shopping, where you're going to work out, all that kind of stuff, and it takes a bit of a mental toll on you. You get, after a couple months of doing that, you get kind of tired. I think a good example that you might be able to shed some light on is when you were traveling really fast through Europe. Was it last year or the year before? It's just really, really tiring. And then after that, you kind of want to go to a place that's a little bit more familiar, and you don't have to expend all that mental energy on just figuring out your day-to-day life. You just kind of want to be able to, just take a breath, be productive, know where everything is, and not have to use all your brain to do that. And I'm kind of doing that right now, coming to Mexico City. It's familiar territory, and I don't have to think about all the flights and where everything is, and just like the stress that comes along with traveling.
We'll get to number 10 in a second, which is almost entirely how I used to plan my life for a couple of years, but familiarity, and I never thought I would join this train, Jeff, so
I didn't think you would either.
To be here. It's a pleasure to be here with you in Diego now. I always used to have so much judgment for people who just like kept going back to the same places. Like I never understood. I was like, of course, yeah. And I'm never shy to tell you about it. I was like, why do you keep going back to the same places? Like, there's so many places in the world to see and to experience and to do, and I wanted to go everywhere, and I did go like everywhere. Not everywhere yet, but I guess there's that quote that comes to mind. Do you ever see those shirts that it's like, I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list? Have you ever seen
No.
It's like those like cliche. It's like one of those cliche like
I know your quotes are usually
shirts.
Off by 1 or 2 words, so I'm going to have to fact check.
100%, yeah. Fact check that one. Go something along those lines. But I used to be that person for sure. And only in the past, I would say, really this calendar year. So starting about, I would say, 6 months ago, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe I just burned out from moving around so much for so many years, and just got to this point in my travel life, or my life, where I'm like, I also just want some familiarity and the ease of it. There's a lot of things just work-wise I'm wanting to like really dig in and do, and just use more mental energy and calm my nervous system and just like relax for a little bit. So I have really been craving going back to the same places, which I never ever thought, like if you had told myself 4 years ago, I'd be like, who is this girl? Like, what have you done with Marissa? But I'm like you now, where like Playa del Carmen is one of my favorites to go back to. Costa Rica is one of my favorites to go back to. Bali is one of my favorites to go back to. So for me, it's kind of just a place where I can still get, the excitement of being not in my home country, maybe not in my place, but I know, like you said, the gym, the restaurants, I probably have friends there. It just feels, there's something with your nervous system when you just get to a new place you've already been. It's like you don't have to be on edge. You know what streets are safe to walk on. It feels more relaxing and also I would say a big part of it is I don't feel like I have to explore. So like when I get to a new place, I genuinely want to, go on the weekend trips and do all the bucket list items in that city or, the place. It's like your free time fills with like, I've never been to this restaurant. I haven't like hiked this place. I haven't, been to this cool place 2 hours from here.
Yeah.
And once you've done that in a place, you can go back and really just enjoy the place and not feel like a tourist. Like you don't have to go do all the cool things. So anyway, I would say a big one now for me too is just sort of saying, I want to go back to those places that I know and it feels easy. And that's kind of the train I'm on right now. And typically that comes with like, I'll know, like I don't have to say yes to someone necessarily because there's people who are already there that I know.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for me now, which I never thought would be.
Yeah, it's kind of nice for that balance to be able to alternate too. Like you can say, all right, I'm going to go off for 2-3 months and do a little bit of like exploratory travel, just knock some stuff off the bucket list. And then after that, I don't want to go, back to, I don't want to necessarily go back home. I just want to go somewhere that's, I'm still traveling and I still get some of that excitement, like you said, but it's just a little bit more familiar territory. And you can just take a breath and just reset. Get a little bit more productive, maybe. Get a little bit more healthy if you want. Whatever it takes to recenter a little bit.
Yeah, just now coming from, where were you? Serbia and Georgia, and then you kind of chose to go back to Mexico City. So once you've gone for a while, this can be a really awesome way to do this. All right, Jeff, what's number 10? This was the last one.
Last one plus a bonus
at the end.
Yeah.
Stick around for number 11.
Yeah. So the last one is, I don't know exactly how to label it, but it's just like a natural curiosity or like a bucket list category where you just know of countries that you just got to get to. Like I've heard about it or just seen it on a map and it's like I need to get there. And one of them for me actually is a good example was Tbilisi. I wanted to go there for the last like 2-3 years. I don't know why. And it's just one of those things where you just feel like you need to accomplish that. I need to get there. I need to see it. I need to experience the culture for whatever reason. Some places will call to you. Your friends might bring them up and you look at it and you just Google it and say, oh, there's so many cool places I want to see and experience there. And I just need to do that. And I think that kind of fits in the bucket outside of familiarity, right? So you got these places. You got these places in mind that you got to knock off the bucket list and you just have to do it. And I think you could probably speak to this. You could definitely speak to this a lot better than I can because you've done a lot more unfamiliar travel than I have, and you've done a lot more bucket list types of places. So shed a little light on that for me, because you've got a lot
Before
more.
I do, will you give the example you gave of Sam and the place of the stands that she wants to know? I think that was a cool example as well, and then I'll give mine.
Yeah, for sure. Our friend Sam she was talking about, like, I want to go to all the stands next year. Like, she wants to do everything. She wants to do Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, like everything in that whole region. She's like, that's just what I'm going to do fall of next year. It's just a bucket list item in my mind. Always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Just going to do it. And that's like one of she's more of the proactive planner that people tag along with because she's like, I'm doing this. Yes, I'm leading the charge.
Love them for it.
Going to the stands. It's a bucket list item for me. Stands. Join me if you want. Yeah. So that's a good example of how these things actually start to happen from beginning to end, actually. Tying them all together.
I love that. It's like someone else's reason. So I used to be this person for sure. I was almost exclusively, like, I would choose a Wi-Fi Tribe chapter, when I first started, that was a bucket list place, a curiosity, and then travel around with friends. So these kind of like multiple ways merged together. I had other bucket list places I really wanted to go to and would find friends to go there with me. So for example, after Thailand as well, like I convinced a friend, I really want to go to Myanmar and convinced a friend like to go there with me. I had a college roommate meet me in the Philippines because it was somewhere I really wanted to go to. And like she came there for a little bit. So I would say even when we first started this podcast, I was on a mission. I really wanted to visit every single country in the world at one point. That was sort of my goal at the beginning. And so I would just be like, and I have, of course, places that are more appealing to me than others. So I would say like, I really want to go to this location. I really want to get to this this location. So I might have been the person earlier on who would kind of pick a place and kind of bring other people along with me, or choose a Wi-Fi tribe destination that like was really just sort of like somewhere I hadn't been. Like Oman was a good one that I did that, and then sort of tacked on like Egypt and Jordan and the UAE, and kind of went to places around there. So I really was one of those people where I was like, I want to see everywhere. I want to do all the cool things. I want to go to all the bucket list places, and I would kind of use a couple of these different ways to make it happen. Yeah, I'm just I think I'm in a temporary phase where I'm just like slowing. I did so much of that I'm very tired. And so now I'm kind of going back to familiarity. But I will go back because I still have a lot of other bucket list destinations. And Sri Lanka and Nepal were two great examples of ones that I wanted to do and did earlier this year, and kind of was with friends, kind of said yes to friends, and then kind of convinced friends to come, like those sort of things. But it is a big one. And I think this is kind of, I feel like the one before you become a nomad that you sort of assume is how everyone would just pick everything. Maybe it's like, you have all these bucket list places that you want to go to in life, and then you finally get the freedom. So I kind of used multiple ways to get to those bucket list places, but it was this was really probably the reason I became a nomad, was like, there's all these bucket list places I want to go. And I know that, like, I will never have time to get to all of them in the world if I don't do it, before I retire. And so that was really why I started this journey, was for the bucket list places. And I found, we need to do an episode, Jeff, on the surprising parts of nomad life you had said this last time, that we didn't expect. And so there's been so many other benefits and now other reasons I go to other countries that I never would have expected before. But this is, I would say, like the reason most people think, you'll plan all your travels nomad. And you can. It's definitely a way to do it if you want.
Our friend who's actually still doing that, Caroline, I just pulled up her Instagram. Yeah. She's up to, her goal is to hit every country as well. Country. I think she's at like half. Yeah. Her Instagram now says 109, and she's a good example of she just goes off on her own. She doesn't even really need a crew. She's just laser focused.
Just keeps going. Country.
Gonna get to the next one, and then I'll go somewhere and I'll post something on Instagram. She's like, "Oh, that's great. I was there back in 1997. Here's some recommendations." She's got something for every single place that I go to on my that I post on my stories. Oh, what's your surprise bonus? We didn't talk about it.
Surprise number 11, I can't believe we didn't think of this one, is flight cost. So we sort of talk about cost of a country. This is a big one. I would say it's not usually how I plan my travel, but there's two specific examples that came to mind where I did plan simply around the cost of the flight. So one is, so I was a couple of years ago, was on a Wi-Fi tribe chapter in Mauritius, little African country. It's like a little island that feels like in the middle of nowhere. And I was with our friend Danielle, and we knew, so this was like, again, you kind of merge a couple of reasons. So I was on a Wi-Fi tribe chapter, that was number one. And then number two, I wanted to keep moving with Danielle. We were there together, so it was like number two. And we were trying to figure out where to go from there. And we really wanted to go to Mozambique, and we wanted to go to, there's a couple other places nearby, but the flights were just astronomically, it was possible, but we're like, why are we paying this much? Like, we don't have to go to this country. Yeah. So we ended up going to Namibia, which was also a bucket list place I happened to want to go to, but it wasn't in my plans then, simply because of as we did all flight options out of Mauritius, Namibia was one of the cheapest ones to get to next to South Africa, and Danielle had already been to South Africa. I ended up going afterwards. So that was one way. I was in a place and we're like, all right, what flight-wise, what makes sense to go from here? It's kind of like choosing for an Airbnb, but by flight cost. And then another example, when I was going through Europe, I ended up, there was a really cheap, it was $200 flight from Madrid to Atlanta, and I had to get back home from a wedding. So I ended up going to Madrid, for a minute, because there was a really cheap flight from there to get back home. So again, every now and then we'll sort of explore flight costs, but I know a lot of people like to do this in general. Even if you're just at home and planning a vacation, we always think we need to pick a place and then find the flight that goes with it. But if you're really flexible, you can just click that little explore button on Google Flights or Expedia or Kayak or wherever you like to look, and just put in wherever you are or wherever you will be, and just say it will show you every flight cost from where you are, and you can see it as a map of this is $200, this is cool. $1,200, this is $800, and you can totally just pick your destination based on all right, this flight is a good price, let's go there. So it's definitely a way I don't think it's the norm of the majority, I should say, of the way we travel, but it does impact it every now and then.
It's such a good one. I've been doing this actually more and more and more just over the last year. I don't particularly care for flights that have crappy layovers. So I will find, there's a good website that shows direct flights from any, I can't remember the name of the website, but it'll show you all the direct flights from specific airports that you're next to. And so I based on that, I'll just start heading in the right direction. And sometimes I'll just stay. And sometimes it's actually cheaper than buying the flight. You can buy it in segments, like just go to one major airport one way, and then from that major airport to where you're going one way. And sometimes it's actually cheaper that way. And wherever you ended up, sometimes it's totally random. You'll look at that flight map and be like, oh, it's going to take me to XYZ country. And cool.
Yeah.
Since I'm saving some money with that flight, I'll just spend a couple of days there and check it out. And it's kind of a cool, and again, that brings us full circle around to that feeling of total freedom to be like, why not? Why don't I spend 3 days in this country that I didn't even think about? And it's more convenient, and I can break up a really long, what would be a crappy flight with a long layover. I don't have that anymore. I got a couple days to settle down from the first flight, and then I can go and do a much shorter flight in the second round.
It's a cool way. We didn't even talk about the layovers. I would say that's like 11 and a half bonus, but like sometimes there's like layovers you can do for 24 hours or a couple, half a day or a day. Like I don't remember. I was flying maybe from, I have no idea. I don't know. I was flying somewhere and flew through Bahrain, and I purposefully chose a longer flight layover just to go explore that country for a little bit, because I was like, why not? I can, so there's cool ways to do that. So layovers might be I don't think about that as like long-term travel, which is what we mostly talk about, but that's ways to hop to countries too. So with that, man, that was a really comprehensive list. That was a fun conversation.
Really,
I've never really thought about.
We almost pushed an hour on this one. This is a great topic.
I love this topic. Yeah, let us know. So anything to close us out, Jeff?
If you think of anything else. Actually, you know what? There is one thing that I want to say. We're starting to get people to write in our reviews and into our email at hello@beachcommute.com with episode suggestions, which we absolutely love. And we're going to start adding some of these to the list too. So if you got any ideas on things that you want to hear about, do write us in, put it in a review. We really, really like the reviews. Like Marissa said, put them in there. That's great. Also email us at hello@beachcommute.com.
Yeah, we've got some fun ones, and we really do record them. And then if you want to hop on our newsletter, beachcommute.com/email, it's a great way to do that. We send out 2 remote jobs. Every day we send out every once a week. We have some other options to get them every day, and we send out info about the podcast, other cool things that we're sharing and doing. Good options. So with that, we hope that you enjoyed this. We hope that you now understand how we as digital nomads choose where we go in the world, how we make these decisions when you can go anywhere, and we're excited for you to do the same too.
And we will see you again next week.